Drops up that way, ain't they? How far away from you are they?
What is it? I suppose 8 or 9 mile. Wouldn't be that far, like, you
Jeez,
know.
lad, 8 or 9 miles. You could have went to see all their home games.
Yeah, and it's actually the same now because Korea League's down the road, Gwangju FC. And
Oh
it's the
my
same.
god,
I was telling the
amazing.
missus I must pop down there. The season kicked off in March, and what are we now? We're in September, and every week's the same. Just I must pop down there one of them. Sure, the season's nearly over, like, you know.
I had to look them up to see that I recognize their crest.
Mm.
Um,
Who? Finn
don't
Harps?
no, Gwangju FC. No, Gwangju FC, man. Yeah, I do not recognize that quest at all.
They only got promoted there. They were down in the K2 league there
Uh,
last year. So, but they're doing well this year. They're doing
it says
like I've
third.
seen a
It
couple of
says
games on
third.
TV.
It says they're third here in the K League.
Yeah, they're doing really well. People expected them, proper relegation team like in the EPL to
Yeah.
go up and go down. But tell you, Niall Gwangju. Do you know who used to play for them actually? Niall, Niall McGinn, Northern Ireland
Name
player from the
again.
2016 Euros.
Jeez, I do. I remember him. Yeah.
He used to play for Gwangju. He left Aberdeen in Scotland. I think it was 2017, 2018, and he came out to play for Gwangju FC. But man, there's a whole story about that. He came out and was benched for 4 months because the Koreans were telling him he wasn't man enough to play Korean football. They were like the manager was called Kim Bum. Get
Kim
that,
Bum.
Kim Bum, like
Kim Bum.
and he was telling McGinn that Korea is a very physical country, very manly country, and that we had to sit basically a season and watch how they train, watch how and McGinn was like, look, I've just come from
I
Aberdeen,
come
and
from Northern Ireland, lad.
yeah, what are you talking about? Like, do you know how they play in Scotland? Like I play
Yeah.
the Derby games, and I play against Rangers, I play against Celtic, and he lasted 4 months. I don't believe he played one game, and then Scott, I think Aberdeen bought him back or something.
What the hell? That is a crazy story. But why did he go there in the first place? Did they actually buy him?
Yeah, they bought him, which is crazy too, because he would have been the best player that they would have had, And they buy him. I can't remember what the fee was, but I remember when the article came out because I was living in Seoul at the time, and he said, "Look, I'm excited." When loads of like at the time you had Cannavaro and stuff managing in the Chinese league.
Yeah,
And there was a lot of big former players out here at the time, Chinese league, and a few players in Japan. So he was excited because he's like, I want to go to a different culture and see what it's about. But manager Bum put a stop to that. Wasn't having it, like
that's a crazy story considering they were the ones that bought him. You know
I
what
know.
I mean? Like
Made no sense. Like
it's not like I'll join in. They were like, "Oh, come on in, just sit on the bench." It was like, "No, we're going to get this guy, and then we're going to make him sit on the bench."
And it's just the excuses too. Like you need to understand how manly and rugged Korean men are, and he's just like, what are you talking about? Like But
yeah, that's bad. So what were we looking into? NFL last night. Did you see any of that game?
I'd caught the highlights. I had no action on it, so you know yourself. Look, I mean, I cover so many sports that I obviously have to prioritize. I obviously want to watch the NFL, but I need to prioritize in terms of what I'm watching as to what I'm betting on. So I just watched the highlights. Not surprised, and the line opened up at +7. Back in the summer on Detroit, closed at like +4. So obviously some heavy money came on Detroit. So. I think a lot of people were surprised that they managed to win outright. But if you had been following the money from, over the summer, possibly not that surprised,
Yeah, well, Jez, from +7 to what was it, +4.5?
I think it +4, +4.5,
Wow.
closing that range.
But what did Colin play though? Travis Kelce, was he out?
Oh man, now you're asking.
He shifted the line big time when he went injured, or I don't know. Was he injured? I don't know. But he shifted the line. But either way, the only bet I went for in that game was, and like, I always bitch about it because I'm so shit at the NFL. And I wasn't even excited about the game last night. Like usually I'm like, oh, first game of the season, I'll stay up and watch it. I was like, nah, I'm going to bet at 12. I don't give a shit. I'm not even going to watch the highlights. Like, that's how much I didn't care about it. I was like, fuck it. I'm looking for a bet yesterday. And I threw in, I had like a parlay accumulator, and I threw in Kansas City Chiefs over 21.3 points. I thought they'd get 3 touchdowns and a field goal. Instead, they got, well, I don't know if they got 3 touchdowns. I presume they did because they got 21 points. But yeah, just one fucking field goal away from cashing it.
Ah, well, sure. There's always Sunday. Yeah, you'll get it back.
Yeah, I don't know. I might stick to that.
Well, get this. At least you had more. Well, I was going to say you had more success than me. You didn't. You lost. So it's like you wouldn't call that the same. But I feel like an absolute dunce last night. It wasn't a major play. It was only a 2% play for me. But I like Slovenia to beat Northern Ireland yesterday in the qualifiers.
Yeah.
And the line was, I believe, the line was minus 118 straight up. And did you ever do this? I thought, you know what, I'll be smart. Minus 180. I don't want to lay any juice. And if you look at Slovenia games and Northern Ireland games, they don't score goals. It's always 1-0, 2-0 max. So I thought, you know what, I'll pair it up with the under 3.5, get some plus money, plus 105. And the game had 6 goals. So I feel like, for the sake of minus 118 to plus 105, 23 cents, to cost myself a win, I was just like, not happy with that at all.
And it was a 4-2 final score.
4-2, which is unheard of. If you've been following those two teams the last 2 years, it's 4-2 is just crazy.
Yeah. I think I might have considered backing Slovenia in that game, but I obviously it was like 250-50 for my liking,
I should have. I really like Slovenia to win the game, which they obviously did. But I'm just annoyed with the fact that I was a bit greedy and I wanted to get that plus money instead of laying minus 118. But I really like. There's some games I have up at Wager Talk today for Friday that I really like, and Saturday as well. So yeah, I'm liking the weekend for soccer.
And what are you looking at? What are you looking at, man?
Well, I have, like I said, I got 2 players up now. I got a play in the. Well, actually, we talked about one actually on the stoppage time show. We do that stoppage time show over at Wager Talk on a Thursday. I like England minus 1.25 is fine. Also, buy it down to minus 1. England are just so. I was talking about this, like I said, in Thursday's show. England are just so good. Like they always mess it up, obviously, when they go deep in a major tournament. But in terms of qualifying, they're probably my favorite team just to back. They're a machine in qualifying. It's always like 2-0. Should have only let 1 goal in the entire qualification campaign, to the Italians in Naples. I mean, you'd almost expect that. That's the only goal they've allowed at the back. So, yeah, I never fade them, and I'd always be looking for an excuse, to back England during qualifying. And then obviously when we get to the quarterfinals of a major tournament, turn around and, go the other way.
Yeah. I see they're minus 1.5 here at minus 105. That's not bad.
I like that.
And the game is in neutral venue, like.
Yeah, Poland. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously still going to be heavily Ukrainian, but
but
it doesn't matter. Like they're just like you look at that Ukraine squad, like England are just far superior right across the board.
I think I don't know. Do you expect them to? I wouldn't even say concern, but I don't think they win like 5-0.
No. Yeah. I actually think it'll be 2-0. Like I have 2-0 in my head. So I'd probably now that the line's moved off that minus 1. I still look. I mean, you could still boost it up minus 1. I think it's around minus 155, minus 160 now. Just because they're not. I would be shocked if we woke up. Ukraine aren't going to win this game, and I highly doubt it'll be a draw. So worst case in my mind is you come out with a push. Absolute worst case, and more than likely, but. Yeah, I'm going to sprinkle some on that correct score as well, 2-0, because, as you said, I don't see them blowing them because they just don't care enough. They'll get 2-0 up and then just shut up shop. And
I think I didn't watch the second half, but I think like France last night against Ireland. I think like they probably could have maybe scored more if they really, really wanted to. I'm guessing I didn't watch the second half, but I feel like when they got 2-0 up, it was like job done because these guys ain't getting 2 goals. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like it was. It's probably going to be like that. I thought 2-0. I before you even said 2-0, I thought maybe England 2-0. So England 2-0
Yeah,
could
because
be a good
Ukraine, it's not
now.
they're not San Marino or Cyprus, they're not scrubs but just they're not able to compete at that level,
Yeah. Let's move on then. Let's move on to what's starting tonight, starting tonight, the Rugby World Cup.
Mm.
Are you excited, Kevin?
Yeah, I am actually. And the hesitation was there because rugby is a sport that for most of my life, I really haven't cared about it at all. I've always been so starting from the start, love Gaelic, always love Gaelic, and going to the Fermanagh games, and going to the Ulster games, and then it progressed. I like soccer obviously too. There's nothing like you know what I'm talking about. During Euro 2016, I remember as a kid. USA 94 and so on, and Robbie Keane's goal. I'm sure there's some rugby person out there that is going to tell me that the same passion is there for rugby as it is for soccer. But in my opinion, they're talking nonsense because, as I said, I was in the bar when Robbie Keane slotted past Oliver Kahn. And that'll never there is no rugby match. Ireland could win the World Cup and there'll never be that type of emotion. Or even like back in 2016, who was it? Robbie Brady got the goal
Robbie
against
Brady,
Italy. Yeah, I mean, there's that. The pub just goes up. The roof goes off the pub. So
it's so crazy.
That's kind of way I've never been into it because it looks a bit safe to me. But I am excited about this one because obviously I've started really the last 3 years maybe getting into it a bit more in the stats and so on. So
it's so funny you said that about Robbie Keane and Robbie Brady because I remember exactly where I was for both of them. Like I remember, I don't even remember I barely remember. I remember what the Robbie Keane one looks like, but the Robbie Brady one, I couldn't even tell you what the goal looked like. Couldn't tell you if it was a free kick, penalty. I don't know. I just remember where I was for that one. But that's why
it's weird, man. Because I'm a bit older than you, so I was really small when we were in the 1990 World Cup.
Yeah.
I think I was like 6 or something like that. So we got to, but I remember the emotion. I remember my dad, my uncle, everyone was going crazy. And then in 1994, I was lucky enough to go to USA, go to my uncle's out there. We went to a World Cup game. So I grew up, and in my head, Ireland were always a world-class team, so I'm like the worst generation because, I grew up thinking Ireland are always going to get to World Cup quarterfinals and second rounds, and then as I got older, obviously, I'm like, oh, no. I had the old-timers telling me, nah, son, this isn't. You were just born at the right time because this, we had to go through decades of Ireland never reaching anything. So I think we're back to those days now. So it's a bit tough. It's a bit hard for me to adapt,
I joined the end of that era. I was like, I think 10 or 11 when the 2002 World Cup was on. So obviously being a kid that age, I was like, Ireland are brilliant. We literally just beat Germany. And I think we were we were not even for 2 or 3 years after that. We weren't the worst team. Like we were okay
no,
till 2000.
We put out. You remember that Netherlands game? We put out the Netherlands to get into that World Cup.
Yeah.
Who scored the goal?
Was it Matt Holland?
No. It was
Jason McAteer.
Jason McAteer, that's right. Jason McAteer put the Dutch out. So no, you're right. We had a good team, and obviously we had I don't know if he was the best player. Well, no, he wasn't the best player in the world, but he was well up there. Obviously, Roy Keane would have been one of the stars heading into that World Cup.
Yeah, would have been but that's
cheese sandwiches, Eric. Cheese sandwiches. That's what it all came down to.
That's a whole podcast in itself.
It is, yeah. We're not going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. So Rugby World Cup, you're saying, you're excited enough about it. I'm like, for me, I'm going to be honest. Like, I am Six Nations. I tell you, what does one of my friends calls me? Is it armchair fan? You're an armchair fan. Is that the word? He calls me an armchair fan. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Basically, I only watch Six Nations. I might watch the Heineken Cup final, maybe semi-final if an Irish team is in it, and World Cup. That's rugby for me. Six Nations, World Cup, and if there's an Irish team in the Heineken Cup, and that's it. I don't watch any other rugby. Not really interested in much other rugby. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's just the way it is. But when something like this rolls around the World Cup, I do look forward to it. I look forward to it. I look forward to. Do you know? Like, I look forward to the sort of games where you see, who's the Japan beat South Africa a few years ago. Like stuff like people like South Africa were like, well, I don't know, probably -24 or something that day.
It's the biggest upset ever. And
Yeah,
wasn't that the last one? Was it 2019 or was it 2015? 2019.
I know Argentina upset somebody in the last. Oh no, the Uruguay bet Wales or South Africa, or I think it was South Africa. Uruguay bet actually, to be honest. South Africa have a reputation of that's twice now. Now that I think about it, isn't it? Who's going to beat them this year?
Well, hopefully Ireland.
Hopefully us, yeah, hopefully us.
That is some group, though. I mean, you got to feel for all the teams in that group because Scotland, number 5 in the world, right? And they have to be like, oh man, what a draw to get out of that one, you know?
Yeah, like look at this. It's the first thing that caught my eye was finish bottom. The second lowest odds is Tonga 20-1, and Romania are basically a euro on Romania is basically winning you 4 cents to finish bottom.
Yeah, well,
it's
a free 4 cents in it because it's going to happen, you know.
I think Tonga will definitely. I think Tonga, like, they're probably all going to lose to Scotland, Ireland, and South Africa, but I definitely think Tonga can beat Romania.
I was listening to a podcast with 2 ex-Australian players, and it was interesting because they were talking from a player perspective, right? And they said, you know, rugby's very unique. Again, I've only been really into it. Like I went to college in Wales, so obviously I used to watch it there because the Welsh are crazy into it. It is the national sport over there. But these 2 guys were saying basically that, like, unlike soccer, unlike a lot of sports, when you're in the Soccer World Cup, the games are, spaced out the same and, teams have to go on a roll. But rugby's different from the physicality aspect because if you're playing, that's why they were giving Ireland a kind of slim chance of winning this one because they have to overcome such tough games. And like you said about Tonga there, even though they'll be expected to lose all of those games, Scotland should beat them, Ireland should beat them, South Africa should beat them. Tonga are just such a physical team that even, these 2 guys were saying, we used to play Tonga. You'd come out, you'd win the game 63-18 or whatever, but you'd be so bruised up and so battered by the end of the match.
And you'd be back.
That, you won, but, by the time, you got like a 3 or 4 day rest before the next one. It's so tough. So, Ireland really did, they got unlucky with this draw because it's, to come out of that battle-hardened group and your reward is to meet New Zealand or France. It's just, that's tough, it's a tough ask.
Like you said, it's going to be 50-50 against Scotland and South Africa. It's going to be 50-50 against both of those. And then you're going to have Tonga, who's going to, even though you'll probably beat them, they're going to physically beat the shit out of you. So yeah, it's going to be tough for them to.
I'd be disappointed if they didn't beat Scotland, to be honest. I know Scotland's a good team, but the whole Stuart Hogg, him leaving over the summer and stuff, that would be a disappointing now. I know Scotland are good, but you need to be beating Scotland.
They should beat Scotland. They should, but if Scotland beat us, by 3 points or whatever, I wouldn't be blown away.
Who do you like to win it then? Who's your tip?
But that's what I'm saying. I'm only an armchair rugby fan, Kevin, so I can't really blow my horn here too much. But look, I definitely like 2 teams, and it's because I've probably heard a bit about them 2 teams to perform better than they're probably set to perform, and that's Fiji and Argentina. But they've always been like that. They've always kind of been 2 teams that people think, they have no hope, and then they actually, put up a good performance against a few teams. So I like Fiji and Argentina to do something, maybe
I like
the best teams in the group.
I like Argentina as well, and I was actually looking to back them to make a run to the semi-final. Now, you can misquote me on this, but I believe I looked it up. It was only last night, and it was even money. And I was like, I was hoping for a way bigger price than that. I was like, even money to reach the semi-final. That's what I think it was. Bet MGM it was on. Again, double check that. But I was like, I mean, I know it's the easier side of the draw, right? Wales are a mess, England are a mess, but I was still very surprised by that price because I wanted to back Argentina, like you and Fiji actually, but more so Argentina because I do think they'll go deep, but not at that price. I don't want to get involved with that, that kind of money.
Yeah, that's. I was expecting you to say at least 2.5, 2.6, 2.7.
I would have betted that for sure.
Minimum. But and they were saying you're only getting plus 100.
They've had a good autumn, haven't they? They beat South Africa. Should have beat the English, right? They beat England in Twickenham as well, I believe. So, potentially all those results are the bookies have started to take notice. I personally think France will. I know it's a tough one. I think France will win it. Myself.
Yeah. I mean, if you had to tell me to pick 3 teams, I'd say France, Ireland, New Zealand. Like that's the first 3 I'd say. I don't think South Africa. I don't think South Africa are going to do back-to-back World Cups. I just don't think they are. They probably are a good team. I just don't think they're going to do back to World Cups. And as far as I know, England and Australia are a bit below par. Definitely England. Definitely England.
Definitely
we know that for a fact.
I just can't see Ireland. I just can't see it.
I can't see it. But we'll hope. We'll hope.
So that's all you can do. I'll watch it as a fan.
One team I was looking at, that I think you never know, Japan.
Do you reckon now? I was listening to some reports that they've got a lot weaker since they kind of took everybody by surprise, right, in 2019 and stuff. But I don't know. I heard now they've lost some big players and again now, as I said, I wouldn't. I only briefly looked at the team. I actually did put some money on Australia, 10-1, which I didn't think was bad because it'll be a hedging opportunity. I'm just hoping Australia can get to the semis. Which they should. I mean, like Wales, we know the mess that's going on with Wales. It's Gatland. Didn't Gatland say as well about a couple of months ago that if I hadn't known the mess that it was, I wouldn't have came back. That's how bad it is because it goes right up to the chairman of the rugby board in Wales. He's on some. I don't want to get sued on this. Some kind of.
Don't get
woman misdemeanor thing, or I gotta be careful. Don't want to imagine that the first show back you get sued by the Welsh Rugby Association for defamation. But yeah, I know that the whole it's not just a player thing, and there's arguments about the teams contracts and stuff like that, and a lot of players have decided not to come back. And then you had Alan Wynne-Jones retiring. The whole team seems like an utter stay away, but. You've said this before. You said it about Japan. You just never know. Maybe Wales just bring back some magic from somewhere and, make a run. They got to the semi-finals in 2019, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, potentially, never know. But, yeah, I think Australia could potentially go deep, At least I'm hoping because I got to take it on them.
Shotgun question. You can't think about it. Just say it. Who's the finalists?
I think it'll be France and New Zealand can meet, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can. So,
they can.
And that's the reason that I like one of those teams. That's the reason that I like France because, the fact that they're meeting each other in the group and they can't meet each other then, it's just, I mean, you're taking out your biggest opposition. So
straight away, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be those two. And I think, can you imagine? I know it's obviously going to happen tonight as well, but can you imagine a final? I just think the French will have enough. That, 80,000 Stade de France right in Paris.
Yeah,
I just think they'll get it over the line somewhere. And they have the world's best player. Dupont is the world's best player. So I'm not saying that New Zealand obviously don't have players that can almost match him, but I don't know. I just think France will get over the line.
I think the home factor's a big. Like if this was in New Zealand, you'd be probably swaying with New Zealand, but I think a home France. And I've actually gone for. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. Pinaud, something. Pinaud. I don't know. Pinaud. I'm going for Pinaud to score tonight in that game. I'm pretty sure he's one of France's best try scorers, and he's 2.1 to score, plus 110. So I've gone for Pinaud to score tonight because I think there'll be a few tries. I think France are going to score a few tries. So I think they'll get at least 3, and I'm hoping he'll get 1. So that's a little bit I've gone for tonight. Pinaud.
You're talking about home advantage too, and I do believe Ian Foster. I was watching his interview this morning for New Zealand, and he was saying, they're along with South Africa, they hold the record for the most number of titles. But 2 of the 3 World Cups they've won have been back home in New Zealand. So that's how big home advantage is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And especially when you're talking about Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere, like the time difference or even the length, the time difference and the heat and this, like the heat in France is warm, but the heat in New Zealand is different. The climate, like everything plays a factor into all this stuff. You might not think it, but definitely does. It plays a factor. And even just psychology, like, we're still in our own country. You know, you're still in your own country. Everyone else has to come to you.
And I think as well, that's another big thing about tonight. That's why I like France to win tonight as well, because, I've seen a lot of breakdowns in terms of technical analysis and power rankings and stuff. And if you power rank both teams, I do believe New Zealand come out slightly ahead. On most power rankings, they should win this game by 3 points or around that mark, 1.5 to 3 points. But again, we don't do enough of this psychology factor. Are New Zealand really going to care if they play Ireland or South Africa? There's no advantage to finishing top of this group because it's flip a coin. I mean, there's no advantage to face neither of those two teams. So I think New Zealand, I'm not saying they're going to throw the game, but, Ian Foster did hint at this in the article. He's like, really, does it matter all that much? Because whoever we face in the quarters is going to be a massive test. It's not the same for France. You know what the French are like. They're going to be packed into that stadium tonight. They're going to almost demand, get the win, get the home win. They're going to be so fired up. So I think even if New Zealand have a slight advantage technically, I like the French to win tonight because they're going to be up for this game, and everything coming out New Zealand camp is like, do we? Who cares if we win this game?
Yeah, I couldn't fathom France fans if they lost to New Zealand, especially New Zealand, who literally said they don't really care because they say they have to care because it's the first game. But we all know, like you just said, if they finish second, it doesn't matter who they play. It's going to be a tough game. So France losing to that ethos, that could demoralize them.
Yes, and that's the key point as well. The French fans are so passionate that you don't want that to snowball. They'll be up there and they'll be cursing the team and throwing seats. Like, you don't want that to snowball because that in the next game, they need to build up some momentum, get the fans on side. So, yeah, like I said, I've already bet it. And I like the French to kick off with a win.
So, just off the top real quick then, New Zealand and France final is plus 333. So it is, and I will go for I'm just going to be cheeky. I'll go for New Zealand and Ireland final at plus 900. So I'll take a little gamble, just because, like I said, I don't think South Africa go back to back, and they are after New Zealand and France. It's New Zealand, South Africa, France, South Africa, South Africa, Ireland. It's all South Africa. So I said, skip the South Africans. Let's just go for New Zealand, Ireland, and a good home dinger of a game. Imagine that, man. Ireland, New Zealand, World Cup final.
It'll be big. I mean, whether it can match Robbie Brady's goal, I don't know, but it'll be up there. It'll be up there for sure.
Win or lose, it'll be up there. So, let's get on to the next segment of the show. We'll go for look, we're only going to try this, guys. Might work, might not work. We're going to go for Fantasy Premier League each week. I'm the manager. Kevin, you're going to be assistant manager, all right? You're only getting the assistant man. You're only getting the assistant manager role.
I fetch the coffee, is it?
You fetch the coffee, man. And if I need advice, I'll ask for it. So I have a fantasy football team already made now. I'm more of a passionate fantasy football player than data, so to speak. A lot of people, you're like, the way people can get deep into sports handicapping. People do this with fancy. They get deep into the XG and how many touches and how many points can have. This guy's better value. I usually just go, you know what? I like him. He's going on my team, and that's the end of the story. Because I couldn't be arsed doing all that. So each week we're going to have a little look at how the fancy team's going down. Obviously, there's no Premier League this weekend, so there's no fancy to even discuss. But we will just get the team up on the screen. Let everybody have a first look. Kevin, you haven't even seen the team yet, so you can absolutely comment all you want. You can dog me. I don't care. It's the team. And then obviously next week, prior to the first round, we'll have a look at making maybe a transfer or two and seeing what we can do to the team. So let's just prepare the drum roll, please, Kevin, and get this team working. Let me just figure out how to get on screen now. Okay, I think we're rocking. Can you see that, Kevin? No?
I can, yeah. Solly March, I like it.
Okay, we're zoomed in. Okay. What do you think so far? I'll give you a quick look.
I don't know. Has he done a whole pile this season? I suppose.
Look,
I like Solly March. I think that's a good pick.
He's been solid. Obviously, Odegaard. He only kind of showed up last week, but let me just explain Eze. The story with Eze is he has been quiet. He hasn't done a whole lot, but he is one of those players I just like. I'd sooner get rid of March and Bruno than I would Eze. I think he's going to come good. I think the biggest issue with the team, if we want to point out a few issues with it, right, Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
Is I have 3 Arsenal players, 3 Newcastle players, and both my goalkeepers play for both my goalkeepers play for West Ham.
Oh, your sub bench.
Yeah, my bench. That's my bench there. If you can see at the bottom, Fabianski, Rashford, Kukurea, and Ben Mee.
I think that's your biggest problem there, man. To be honest, the fact that you're an Arsenal fan on the right, it's. I think that's your biggest issue right there.
You think there's too many Arsenal players, yeah?
I just think that's just picking on Arsenal. I seen the odds today. I was putting up some Champions League futures, and I seen Arsenal were at 12-1 to win the Champions League, and I was like, oh man, there's no way I could back them with that kind of money. Like,
Champions League is a whole other beast when it comes to the odds, isn't it? Because I was looking at, I think it was Bayern Munich second favorite. I was like, I can't be having that. Like, Man City, even PSG could beat Bayern Munich these days. You don't
reckon the Harry Kane be a big upgrade for them?
I don't know. I mean, like, he will in the Bundesliga, but I don't think he's going to be a massive factor. I don't think he's going to win the Champions League. I think that's probably the easiest way to put what I'm trying to say. I don't think he'll win them the Champions League. He might win. He will win them the Bundesliga. They're probably going to run away with that. I don't like. They might make the semis. Who knows? But I think there's a lot of teams that could beat them nowadays. So I do.
I just think you need that experience. I was just, like I said, I was looking at the odds earlier, saying I believe again Arsenal were around 12-1. I think Newcastle were 16-1 ish, and Brighton are one of the favourites for the Europa League. And just my opinion is, if I'm going to put money, if I'm going to back something, I need to see previous form. This is why we see Sevilla win the Europa League every single season, because it doesn't matter how they're playing. They just know the competition so well. So there's just no way I could be backing Brighton to win the Europa League or Arsenal to win the Champions League. It's probably going to come from a team that's been there, done it year after year after year.
It's like you say, experience, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's experience. It's experience, especially with the Champions League, Europa League. The same teams win it year in, year out. There's a reason why Real Madrid won it back to back. Do you know what I mean? Or back to back. I
Yeah.
think it was back to back, and then they might have missed one. But there's a reason why in it, and they are like the Champions League team. Real Madrid are.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter how poorly they're doing domestically. Yeah, they just, because I mean, yeah, again, if you go back to last season, the start of last season, Sevilla were fighting relegation, and I mean, they go on to win, the Europa League. It's an incredible turnaround. So, as you said, they're just two completely different competitions. I just thought I'd bring it up just because I seen the Arsenal crest there, and I was thinking of the odds earlier on because we're just 10 days away now from Champions League fixtures kicking off. So again, another reason to be excited if you're a sports bettor, especially seeing there's some really good games on tap. I mean, Newcastle having to go to AC Milan in game 1, isn't it? I mean, that should be a great game.
That group is amazing.
That group is amazing.
That group is amazing. Who is it? AC Milan, Newcastle. Oh God, who else is in it?
Is it Dortmund and PSG? Is it
Dortmund? Is PSG in it? No, are they?
I think I'll have to look it up now. So.
Wow, with PSG, Dortmund, Newcastle, and AC Milan.
It is the group of death, isn't it? Like, but again, I don't want to sound like
it's not
like
Halloween.
An idiot now if I say that, and then it's not the. It is AC Milan, Dortmund, Newcastle, PSG. That is some group.
That is one of the toughest groups I've ever seen in the Champions League. I couldn't tell you who's going to come out, but I don't think Dortmund will. That's probably the only thing I'll say. I don't think.
Yeah,
Dortmund
I'd agree. Will. Yeah, but again, when I see Newcastle being priced up as like 16-1 to win the entire thing, and they have to come out of that group as well. There's just no way I could back them at that type of price. I'd need a far bigger price on Newcastle if you consider that.
I do think they might have a bit of cup factor about them. Where some teams are just good in the cups. I think they might have a bit of that, but you won't know till you see them play. That sort of way. You won't know till you see them play 3 or 4 games. But again, like I kind of have to agree with you. I think 16-1 is a bit priced slightly a bit low. So I do.
Well, that's the best game, and then PSG Dortmund again. That's a good game. Lazio Atletico. That's a good game. So. Yeah, there's a couple of really good games. Yeah, Union Berlin, Real Madrid. That should be good. Eindhoven, PSV Arsenal. Man United, Bayern Munich is the first game as well. So some really good games. That'll put your theory to the test if Bayern Munich are overvalued, if United can overturn them, but I don't see it.
No, I don't. I think that could be a United win at home, Bayern Munich win at home. Could be one of those scenarios. Yep. So it could. So we're wrapping up the fantasy here because obviously there's not much to do this week. We've no transfers to make. We'll have to have a look next week. But like Kevin's saying, too many Arsenal players. I definitely think there's too many Newcastle players. Evan Ferguson says he's injured, but I think he'll be all right. And we only have one transfer to make, I think. So we'll have to debate over it. If you want to comment down in the comments below, who you think we should transfer out, or comment in the commentary there now. Let us know, guys, what you think about the team. But I was chuffed with myself last week, Kevin, because I got this is how hard fancy is, right? I was chuffed with myself because I got 73 points, which is like usually I'm only hitting about 40, 35, and then I see average points 72. I'm like, fuck's sake, guys! Like you just can't win in this game. Haaland got me 20, Odegaard 14, Ferguson 17, but everybody else on shit. Isaac, Saliba, White, everyone else just got 2. Or Ezzy got 8. Wow, I didn't even see that. But yeah, the Newcastle boys aren't doing it for me. So next week we'll have to go back to the team and suss out the Newcastle Deadwood.
It is amazing because I have a cousin now and he spends all his time doing fantasy. And I often say to him, the amount of time that he spends researching and delving into the stats, I'm like, would you not just do that and then bet the games? And he's like, nah, I love fantasy. And I'm like, I just can't, I don't get it. But like, if you had the spare time, no problem. But like, I couldn't invest that amount of time doing fantasy. I'd love a prize or something, I need something on the line.
I was just gonna say when I first start getting into fantasy, the first thing I look for is I want to do this and win money. Like I don't want to I don't want to do this and then be be like, oh, I won. Like there needs to be a prize at the end of it, like But I realized after a while that it was all the ones that you needed money for was like proper shit. Like it was like guys are spending hours, running their day and or hula putting the team, and like the team probably consumes their life, especially if they're betting for big money. So I was like, nah. I was like, as much as I want to do it for money, I was like, that is not for me, man. No way, no way. So now I just kind of do it for. Let's go back to the armchair. I do it for the armchair. I'm an armchair fantasy fan. I just click it on, have a look at my team, and who cares at the end of the day?
You sound like Gareth Southgate. That's what he must do as England manager. He's just like he doesn't even seem to look at former who's playing well. He's like, yeah, Calvin Phillips, he's back in the team. Jordan,
are you saying
Jordan
I could make
the team? Huh?
Are you saying I could make the England manager?
You probably could with who's in charge. Although I was joking on yesterday's stoppage time. He's doing a great job from an Irish perspective because, I suppose this is another chat for another day. But England should have at least won Euro championship in their back pocket, and I don't know. I'm just not a massive fan of Gareth Southgate's tactics, to be honest. Although we talked about the qualification, at least he gets the job done there. So,
look, we won't go down into a rabbit hole over it, but to end the comment there, all I'll say is like, you just don't think of. It's almost like maybe I'm going to phrase this a bit wrong, but it's almost like you need to be. I'm talking about managers now, like just at the manager style or whatever. It's almost like you need to be exotic to win something these days. Like exotic, like Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, all this exotic, even just like charisma or whatever, like or football or whatever. And then you just look at Gareth Southgate and you just think, you know what a kind of example I'm trying to compare. Like what I mean is like, I just can't see. It's just not. It's not in today's world, is it? I mean, I know he could have the Euros under his belt. I know he could, but it's just funny to look at in a way. Not against Gareth Southgate. Maybe he's a brilliant manager. Maybe he's a brilliant man, but he doesn't come across as exotic.
I mean, there's just a middle ground, isn't there? I mean, Pep Guardiola is considered the best manager in the world for a reason. It also it's almost like I have more respect for Gareth Southgate in a way, because at least he's doing his own thing. He's traditional, and he gets all this abuse, and he's like, I'm going to stick with it. I know what I'm doing. I'll just keep picking Jordan Pickford, as bad as he is, and I'll pick Calvin Phillips, even though he's played 6 minutes all season, and Man City are going to get rid of him. But you know what? He's good enough for the England team, and he just keeps on going. Whereas it almost makes me laugh when I see. And I mean, I'm not dissing Arteta because he is a good manager, but when I see Partey playing at right back, and it's almost like he's trying too hard to copy. Like I'll surprise the opposition with my tactics.
Yeah,
but,
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Exotic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like trying to be exotic for the sake of it, and I don't know. No,
yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? That is a good point. Just in terms of like, you definitely do. I know everyone says, "Oh, Arteta comes from Pep Guardiola's school or whatever," but it's like he's really just trying to almost nearly copy him in a
and I think a lot of managers are doing that. That the new manager for Bournemouth, what's his name? Ariola, yeah, something like that. And like he's doing the same. He plays these crazy tactics, but then you get pumped. Tottenham put 5 goals past you, like and the hype behind him too when he came over. He guided was it Valladolid or one of the Spanish teams to to a mid-table finish. Wow. Yeah. I mean. He's a tactical genius because some team finished 12th in the league. I don't know. I just think everyone's trying to be like Pep Guardiola now with this false number 9s and the defenders that play up on attack and stuff. And yeah, it might work for Pep, but it doesn't work for everybody. And so sometimes, for as much grief as I give Gareth Southgate, sometimes I actually like his big Sam Allardyce,
Head on
like
him.
4, Sean Dice just 4-4-2, lump it up.
Run
Jack
up the
Charlton.
field. I was going to say, oh, I missed my train of thought. I forgot what I was going to say. If I think about it before we wrap the show up, I'll let you know. We're going to wrap the show up now. Before we wrap the show up, Kevin, do you have any bets this weekend, or what's your favorite bet this weekend?
I do. I'll give out one that I fired on already. 4% play in college football. We took Nebraska +3 at even money. Actually, I really like this price, even money especially. They're playing Colorado this weekend. Colorado had a massive win last week. They overcame TCU, who were last year's national championship finalists. They were 20.5 underdogs going into that game. They won the game outright. They absolutely shredded TCU through the air for 510 yards in that game. So they're coming into this week, obviously, with a ton of hype. While Nebraska lost outright against Minnesota, but the final scoreline is a little deceptive because according to ESPN's data, for instance, Nebraska had a 94% chance of winning that game. Final 2 minutes to give up a touchdown and a field goal, lost the game outright. But their pass defense in that game for Nebraska was really good. They allowed Minnesota less than 200 yards total through the air last week. So they're really solid on Saturday. And look, Colorado slightly favored for this game. They do have the better quarterback. They do have the better wide receiver core. But I like Nebraska have the better overall defense in this game. They have the better O-line. They have the better run game. So if you're going to give me a plus points on a team who have the edge in more departments, I'm going to take them. So, yeah, Nebraska +3 at even money. Best bet for Saturday.
Saturday. What time is that on?
Oh, it is. Well, it's on Saturday. What time is it? 12. It's on a midday Eastern. So 12 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, so it's 5 o'clock Irish time. So Nebraska +12, is it?
No, +3.
+3. Oh, wow. I was really giving them
I wish it was really +12.
I was really giving them the points there. Right, so Kevin's gone for best bet this week, Nebraska +12. I was going for
+3.
+3. Okay,
that could be one way to have an undefeated record on this show. We just give out these crazy sky high totals, and then we're winning every week, boys.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, right? I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you, Kevin, because I'm such a nice guy. My best bet for this week was going to be a motorbike bet, MotoGP, but because there's no odds up yet for anything, I'm going to go for a bet that I'm doing tonight. I think this is a winner, obviously. It's not the odds kind of half reflect that. We're looking at Turkey and Armenia, both teams over 1.5 cards. Now the odds is -200, so it's a lot of juice to be laying for both teams to have 2 cards. But I think the last time they played each other, they had 9 cards. Turkey, Armenia, I think they're like first and second in the group or first and third in the group. It's going to be a feisty game, and the referee is Daniel Orsato from Italy, who loves to hand out yellow cards more often than not. He loves red card as well. So what I'll do for you, Kevin, is because the juice is so shit on the -200, and the juice is probably shit on Nebraska +12. If my best bet this week is going to be Turkey, Armenia, 2 plus cards tonight, and in a combo with Nebraska +12. So that's going to be my best bet this week. I don't know what the odds are. I'll have a quick look after this and I'll tweet it out on the show. But yeah, that's been this week's show, guys. We'll be back next Friday, same time, 1:15, 1 o'clock. We'll suss it out. And yeah, anything you want to say before we get out here, Kevin?
No, just hit the subscribe. Is this going out on YouTube?
It's going out on YouTube and Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, so hit that subscribe button and hit the like button, or don't. It's your choice.
Wherever you want.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice,
Yeah, support the show, guys. Hit like, subscribe, and you can support us in the description and the link below. But our Twitter links is in the description as well. And we'll talk to you next Friday for some more shenanigans. Good luck.